Hey guys, Engineer Wannabe here. Today we're going to be reviewing the Grand Seiko White Birch. I'm pretty excited to do this review. There's quite a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and condense it to a decent sized review. I've owned it for a few months now. As usual, I tend to own a watch for a few months before doing a review. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it. But before we do that, my wristwatch check, I am wearing there's a piece of further, wearing the Omega Planet Ocean, 39.5. Yeah, recently did a review on this guy too. So if you guys want to go check that out, you are free to do so. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and flip the camera and review this guy. Okay, guys, so here it is. This is the Grand Seiko White Birch, and it is a beautiful, very striking watch, very striking dial. Your chances are, if you are a watch enthusiast and you do see this, you're not going to miss it. Yeah, before we get into any of that, let's go ahead and do the dimensions. This is a 40mm diameter watch, and I do get that with the calipers. This is 12mm thick. The lug to lug is 46mm, and the lug width here is 22mm. Now that we have our attention on the lug width, this looks like a very aggressive watch. It does wear that way on the wrist as well, and quite a few people have said that this makes it really comfortable, and it does. It sits so flat on the wrist, and it sits so close to the wrist, and it's kind of like a sports car that's hugging the ground. The look might take some getting used to. I know I took a while to warm up to this look. The lug width actually was a point of contention for me for a long time. And I finally got over that. So yeah, moving on, let's go back to talking about this dial, because that is the star of the show. This dial, Grand Seiko calls it the Shirakawa. It's a very deeply stamped dial, and there's a very interesting article on Grand Seiko's website about how this dial was made, manufactured. There is quite a few steps. I think it was close to 20 steps, multiple stamping rounds or attempts to get this deep and aggressive texture here. And you may think, at least in some press photos, it looks like it might take away from the legibility, and it kind of does. It's not as legible as a few other Grand Seikos, but it is still very legible. As you can see, those hands are Zaratsu polished or black polished, and they appear black on this silver dial. On that hour hand, there's one stripe of textured finish there. It kind of looks like lume, but it's not. You can see these indices are multifaceted, as is the signature of Grand Seiko, but here you have a 12 o'clock index, which is I think twice the width, maybe 2.5 times the width of the other indices, and it's really striking, like where the 12 o'clock marker is. And this bezel kind of applies to the dial as well. So the bezel, the top part of the bezel is brushed, and you have the cone of the bezel, it's high polished, as you can see there. All this kind of really grabs light. I've been able to wear this when I'm putting my kids to bed, and been able to easily tell the time. Just grabbing the light, it just grabs any light, and it looks like the dial just glows. And because it looks like the dial glows, those indices which disappear because they're black polished, you're able to get a significant enough of a contrast to be able to tell the time. Of course, it doesn't replace lume, but it is still very legible, and you're able to tell the time better even in the darker settings than in lighter settings. At least that's what I've found. You can see near the 12 o'clock marker, you have the Grand Seiko logo, and that Grand Seiko text is beautifully printed on this deeply textured dial. They're still able to get this printed parts of the dial well done. And this brings me to one of my points of contention here, is this chapter ring. So if we get a bit closer here, this chapter ring, it really does not feel like it's of as high quality as the rest of the dial here. It looks a little cheap. So I mean, it's not something that's a deal breaker for me, but it does look of a lesser quality than the dial. And I'm not sure why Grand Seiko just didn't print these minute markers on the dial, because we can see here with the Grand Seiko logo and this text here, the printing is incredibly crisp. Maybe it's a cost-cutting measure, but this chaptering, it kind of takes away from that premium feeling. And I wish Grand Seiko printed that onto the dial. We know they can do it. Moving on. Let's talk about this case. So here we see this incredible bevel here on the side of this watch. It's really sharp. Grand Seiko didn't Zeratsu polish this watch as much as other watches. It has a dressy aesthetic. I guess it's a dressy sports watch, but this bevel here is very beautifully done. It adds a lot of personality, a lot of character, and you can see when it comes to the lugs, Grand Seiko does what they do best with these multifaceted lug tips, kind of like the 44 GS case or the 62 GS case. It does have that interesting look to it. It's hard not to talk about this movement when you flip over to the case back, but we'll stay on topic here. You can see that the lug apertures, the lugs are drilled, so you're able to size or remove the bracelet quite easily. Putting on the bracelet is a bit of a tough matter. I found a way to do it. The reason it's tough is because they polish the underside here, and it's not a flat polished underside. So the bottom of the lugs, there's like this compound kind of shape, and it's rounded, it's not straight. So when you try to put the bracelet or rest the bracelet on, you're going to find that it slides around a little bit. That tangent aside, you can see again, there's this bevel on the underside, which makes this the wearing experience of this watch really excellent. Let's take a look at the crown here. It's not as detailed as other Grand Seiko crowns that I've seen, so it's high polished. It's almost really hard to focus on it because there's such little personality here. I really wish Grand Seiko did one of their relief polished, relief blasted crowns. That would have been really nice here. But the crown here is just a polished crown with a embossed Grand Seiko logo. Okay, let's talk about this movement. So this movement is the 9SA5. The 9SA5 is a new movement for 2020, I believe. This has dual barrels. And it has a dual impulse escapement. So a dual impulse escapement is kind of like the coaxial, I'm told. It avoids rubbing action between the jewels and metal, so it reduces wear. Very nice to look at movement as well. If you take a look at this, I mean, that looks like a, I don't know, a Batman logo. I don't know if anyone else has said that, but that looks like a Batarang. And we have these really beautifully polished screws. These jewels are exposed, gold filled or gold printed Grand Seiko logo and text, beautiful skeletonized rotor with relief polished text. Really incredible stuff here. Very beautiful to look at. And I think this alone is worth the cost of admission. Before we move on from the movement, there are some issues that I've had with this movement, and it's a new movement, so and it could just be my model here. But one thing to note, I have not been able to get their rated accuracy of -3 +5. It's actually running at around +6 +7, which I'm perfectly fine with. I found that the accuracy deviates quite significantly toward the middle to lower end of the power band. So when the watch isn't fully wound, I find that the accuracy varies even further to like +12, +13. If you guys are really sensitive to accuracy, I think be aware of that. I don't know if you're able to put it on a time grapher before purchasing, or just ask for that favor, but and again, like I said, it could just be my watch. So that's one issue that I've had. Another issue is that this rotor is very noisy, especially when it's in that lower wound state. So right now this is fully wound. I've been wearing this around in preparation for this review, but when it's in that lower wound state, it can be quite loud, and you can kind of feel the rotor on your wrist. One thing you can feel though is, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a bit of a hollow feeling I don't know if maybe this isn't screwed on as tight as it could be. Maybe not. But you can, if you feel like an impact on your wrist, not like a hard bang or anything, but if the bottom of your wrist brushes onto something, you'll feel like this vibration. I mean, to a certain extent, all rotors will have this issue. So I just took out my Planned Ocean. Just to compare, you don't hear that as much, or really at all. I can kind of feel a little vibration similar to what I'm talking about on the Grand Seiko, but on the Grand Seiko, I think you multiply that by 10. So I'm sure you can hear that. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. So it's a beautiful watch and the movement is incredible. Last complaint is this crown. I don't know. I'm so used to how well built Grand Seikos are that this wobbly crown really caught me off guard. Now, none of these things are deal breakers for me personally. I'm going to keep enjoying this watch, but this thing kind of caught me off guard as well. And I wish Grand Seiko did. I wish Grand Seiko gave this the snowflakes treatment. The snowflake had this shrouded crown tube, and it was very nice. When you did pull the crown out, you couldn't see the threading there, and it's a little tiny detail, but it's these details I think that matter to us watch enthusiasts. And so the crown does wobble quite a bit when it's out in the time setting position. So again, I'm not sure if you guys would be sensitive to that. I am not. So the crown is a little wobbly. Just keep these things in mind. But yeah, let's move on from these cons and talk about this watch a little bit more. So you can see that beautiful seconds hand. It's blued and it provides some really nice contrast to this dial. Some people may take offense to this hour hand, which has a chopped off back and a chopped off front. There are not traditional Dauphine hands, except the minute hand is kind of a Dauphine hand, except a chopped off back again. But hey, it's a nice look. I enjoy it. I didn't used to at first. Okay, so let's talk a bit about this bracelet. One huge improvement here is in the clasp. You can see there's no gap. Most Grand Seiko bracelets have a little gap here, and Grand Seiko has finally engineered that out, or removed the appearance of that gap by making this tolerance nice and tight. I really enjoy this bracelet. Whenever I take this watch off the bracelet, I instantly yearn for the bracelet. And I like the look of it on a strap, but I really love wearing it on this bracelet. It has like this very pleasant rounding off of the edges. The edges are beveled, rolled and beveled. It's done on the underside, on the top side, and there's just like this solid, chunky, weighty feeling to it. I really enjoy this bracelet. I wish Grand Seiko's kind of stuck with their signature of having these polished intermediate links, but they chose to brush this entire bracelet. Once they did that, I kind of don't understand the point of these intermediate links. So it's a 5-link bracelet, but they could have had just one link here, saved some money on having that additional 2 intermediate links, and maybe put it towards the crown and other aspects of the watch. Yeah, so they just chose to put a 5-link bracelet here with all brushed look, and the brushed look is very nice. I do appreciate it. So let's talk a bit about the weight of this watch. The weight of the watch head is 66 grams, so not too heavy, pretty light. The bracelet, on the other hand, is 85, I think. And with the spring bars and everything on, I measured this at 153 grams. I don't think the math adds up there, but but regardless, that's what I got on the scale. And I think this watch deserves to remain on this bracelet if you're talking about comfort. But if you're talking about looks, I think this looks exquisite. Even on this brown strap, it looks so good. It's like this really strange war that's going on in my head when I do wear this watch. I want to see it on a strap, but I want to feel the bracelet. But that goes to show how much better this bracelet is over the ones that have been in the past, where a lot of people have been complaining. I personally haven't minded the Grand Seiko bracelets of yesteryear, but this one is better for sure. There's no denying that. One thing I want to add is that the thickness of this watch, I'll just talk into the camera here, but the thickness of this watch is 12 millimeters, which is a lot thinner than normal, and that's due to the improvements that they've done with the movement, and I think it's very well done. But Grand Seiko didn't use the normal tricks that they use to make a watch wear smaller than it actually is. So you have like something like the SBGM 221, a beautiful GMT watch, and it is close to 14 millimeters thick, but it wears like a 12 millimeter because of all the things that Grand Seiko has done. They've rounded the side of the case. Here you get like a sheer case side, so it feels every bit of that 12 millimeters. And so it doesn't feel like a particularly slim watch. While I think if Grand Seiko applied some of those tricks and techniques, it would have felt like an even slimmer watch. But again, this is not a pro or a con. It's just an interesting thing to note. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's my review of the Grand Seiko White Birch. But I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions. I know it's a little different of a review if you're new here. It's not really that technical. But let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to chat with you in the comments. But other than that, guys, I hope you are well. Remember, guys, take care. Time is short. We're running out of it. And I hope you know that you are infinitely valuable and you are precious. All right, guys, take care. Stay safe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.